Hello, it's John Virgo here. This is a request for Snooker Loopy, which was a matchroom thing with Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor and Willie Thorne. Not my song. Mine was from Big Break. It's only a game. But you've asked me to do it, so I'll do it. It's Snooker Loopy, not so we. Me and him and them and me. Great lines. We'll show you what to do with a load of balls and a snooker cue. Pot the reds and screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink or black. Snooker Loopy, nuts are we. We're all snooker loopy. A well done to Chaz and Dave. Where's the cue ball going? Cheers.
Hello and welcome to the Snooker Loopy Podcast. My name is Tom Mayhew and I'm joined as always by my very good friend, the Welsh Dragon. It's Joe Hannard.
Good evening, Rishi. Good evening, everybody at home. I got it right that time. There you go. How we all doing?
He's been practicing that all day, hasn't he? Just sat at home going, good evening, Rishi. Good evening, Rishi. Good evening, Rishi.
Good evening, everybody at home. Thank you, Hazel, and all of that. But how we doing, Tom? It's I would say it's not been a quiet day at the snooker. There's only been one actual result, but two that are very, very close to being a result, and another two matches in their middle session. So, how have you enjoyed that dynamic today?
I mean, yes, I kind of have. It's a tricky one, really, because the one result was kind of, what everyone expected, and the other two matches have continued along pretty much the same pattern. And so, what you really want is a bit of a twist or a bit of a shock. So it's been a bit of an odd day, really, because it's obviously it's always enjoyable to watch snooker and watch people play well, but it's just a bit of a peculiar day, really, because as of recording this at 8 p.m. on Sunday the 27th. Nothing sort of surprising or shocking. It's all just kind of gone to form, which is a bit of an odd feeling, really, considering some of the turnarounds we've seen in this tournament.
Yeah, I think maybe we were spoiled by Saturday, weren't we? With the class of '92 and Higgins coming back for a fourth session and Luca's incredible performance. It sort of was always going to come down from then, and I think it sort of started off with Shaun Murphy and Judd Trump. Shaun Murphy out of the blocks very, very quickly, but then unfortunately, it just went a little bit scrappy compared to what it should have been. I think that match, we're expecting fireworks, and it just hasn't really happened yet. But Judd Trump seems to, as he's getting close to this century of centuries, he seems to keep missing in the 90s. He's in the nervy 90s, Judd Trump.
Yeah, that's a phrase you don't really hear that often, but it felt like it was a big thing in years gone by. I had a whole idea of, you'd like the final black ball in the 147. When it was the final ball to make a century, players would get a bit nervous or a bit edgy. I guess players still get edgy when it's like match ball. They still occasionally do miss, but very rarely do players not wrap up a century if given the chance.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if he does it. He's on 98 as of the time of recording. He's getting close to it. But I remember a few years ago when Neil Robertson, I think, was the first person to do it. He had a few where he missed pots in the 90s and just kept getting really, really close to the 100, but then it took forever for him to actually get his 100th century. So who knows? Maybe with that on Judd Trump's mind, it's an opportunity for Shaun Murphy to come back, but Shaun not quite looking as focused as he has done in previous tournaments, which is a shame because I think Judd Trump has been there for the taking. But unfortunately, Shaun currently behind. Well, we'll see how that match goes. Obviously, there's still a long way to go. As with the C and Ben Wollaston match, that's very close. at 6-4 at the moment. I think that one is. I think the Murphy match went 6-5. So yeah, both really close matches that could go down to the wire, really, but it certainly won't be ending a session early, either of those matches, which I guess is good for the paying public tomorrow, because I think there's maybe a lot of worried people that there wouldn't be any snooker tomorrow night.
Yeah, they might have to bring out Dennis and JV and Steve Davis and do an exhibition or something. I'm
sure they will. I mean, to be honest with you, I think I'd almost rather that than watching some of the sessions. But you know, I get you. It's not the same, is it? But Luca Brecel was 11-1 up, I think, against Ding Junhui earlier today. It looked for all money that it would end up being 13-1, and I don't know if you watched that 13th frame, but Ding Junhui had sort of wrapped it up. And then potted the pink and was just sort of walking off as if he was going out the arena. The cue ball drops into the middle, which then brings the frame back alive. Dennis was confused. The referee was confused. The referee thought that Luca was going to concede, and then Luca came to the table, and it was just all a bit of chaos for a couple of minutes. And I think Luca sort of lost his focus and didn't get the job done in that frame. He had a few chances to get to 12-1, which would have been really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing, really, how he's continued to, have such a lead over Ding, really, when you think that of the two, Ding is the player who's, been in so much better form in the past 2 years. But people are saying that Luca, he's been getting in good shape because he wants to run, or take part in an Ironman or something like that?
He's into his Ironman triathlons, I think, yeah.
So they're saying he's in better shape and maybe that's helping him, which I never know whether I entirely buy that. I feel like people are just, they're all going along with it as if, because if that were the case, then literally, Stephen Lee will be able to just lose half his weight. You wouldn't recognise him, and he'd be world champion. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if I entirely buy it as a theory, but
yeah, I mean, it is amazing actually how much losing or putting on weight can change how you play snooker. Because obviously, if you lose weight, you can probably reach shots a little bit better, but also you have less weight in your arm to play. And I think Mark Allen had an issue with that years and years ago when he lost all the weight. It took a while to sort of relearn how to play certain shots. It was it is a strange one, actually.
Well, they were saying they thought Luca looked stronger, which could definitely be a thing because he's been training and beefing up. But I wonder how far players will take this. Like, is a player going to wear high heels because it will help them reach some of the shots? Like, how many different things are people going to do to try and compete?
Yeah, well, maybe we will see Stuart Bingham wearing those high heels that we got him. Yeah.
And his massive hands that can hold about 8 balls in like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine Stuart Bingham wearing stilettos, but.
Can't we all, Joe?
Yeah, Luca didn't quite finish the job. I mean, what I was quite surprised at is, even though it was only 7-1, Ding sort of came out and looked like he didn't want to be there already, and that was quite a negative attitude from Ding, and I feel like that is Ding's biggest flaw is his temperament and his battling qualities. He's not a player that's known for a good comeback, is he? So. 7-1, it's very much retrievable. If he'd won the session 6-2, comes back out 9-7, match back on. If he comes out 5-3, it's 10-6. It's not irretrievable for somebody of Ding's quality. So it was very surprising to me that he came out And he looked like he didn't want to be there at 7-1. Obviously, we don't know what's going on. Some things might be going on in Ding's life that we don't know about. It was just a bit of a strange attitude to have. And then all of a sudden to pull out 2 centuries in the last 2 frames to take it to a third session, it felt very strange to me, that match.
Yeah. As weird as it sounds to say, Ding could still come back. Highly unlikely. But if anyone knows that a massive comeback is possible, it will be Luca, considering his match against C when Luca went on to win the title.
Well, he was 14-5 down against C Jawi in that match and managed to come back to win 17-15. So he did win 13 of the last 14 frames 12 of the last 13 frames to win that match. So it is possible. You've got to take it 1 frame at a time. And ultimately, if he keeps chipping away at the lead, the more pressure Luca's going to feel. But you feel like he's missed his chance today to do that. But it's one of those things. Very similar on the other side of the arena, Tom, with Ronnie and Pang Jung-soo. I mean, Ronnie 12-4 up with a pot success rate of about 87%. He's only had 35% of the table time. It feels like the wrong scoreline when you look at all of the stats of that match. But somehow Ronnie's 1 frame from victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really, as you say, I feel like it makes sense. But that's snooker sometimes, and I think maybe that's when often like the scores are, very lopsided. Like occasionally you'll say it, and it'll be like, oh, C got 1,000 points, and Mark Williams got 800, and people were going like, oh, how did Mark Williams win when he got less points and he potted less balls and less pot percentage and all that stuff? And it's just like, yeah, but that's because he's got match play, he's got gameplay, and really, someone's total points and total balls can just mean they got a few high breaks, and then you can get 135 breaks in a row, but if your opponent gets 70 every frame after that, they're going to win those frames, and you might have more points, but it doesn't mean you've won the match. So it just shows Ronnie's his ring craft, as it were, and his ability to win ugly, as it were.
Well, yeah, I think there's sort of with something with Ronnie's stats that they improved quite a lot, because he came out after the mid-session interval and got 2 century breaks in about 9 minutes. Because for once, the BBC actually decided to put Ronnie on the red button and go over to the other side of the arena and have the Ding and Luca match, because they thought it was going to end up being 13-1. So they sort of stuck with that until Ding got the second frame. Then went, all right, we're going to go back to Ronnie now, and he's just put in 2 century breaks. So yeah, it's just funny how Ronnie can sometimes just switch on that sort of form. And well, I can't see, as much as we said it's possible for Ding Junhui to come back and win 9 frames tomorrow, I'm not sure the same can be said about Pang Jung-soo. We will see. But yeah, it could be a very, very short session tomorrow night, because I believe Ronnie and Luca are both on at 7 o'clock. So it could well be over within 20 minutes tomorrow night, which will mean a very nice early recording of the podcast for us, Tom, won't it?
Yeah, that's what that'd be nice. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind if they just got it out of the way, got it sorted, and went, good. There you go, lads. Record the podcast. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. But the one result today, of course, was Jing Tong wrapped up his victory against Lei Pei Fan, kind of what people expected. Pei Fan did well, got 10 frames on the board.
Yeah,
so
I think it ended up being 12-7 or something. Jing Tong was very close to winning, and then Lei Pei Fan knocked in 3 good breaks, and actually was in frame 23. Unfortunately, missed a pot, and then Jing Tong cleared up. But ominous signs, I think. You know, Zhao Xintong has been very comfortable so far, hasn't he? And he hasn't really been pressed to play some of that explosive snooker that we've seen in the qualifiers. But I tell you what, Chris Wakelin, he's playing well. I think that could be an absolute cracker of a quarterfinal. That goes very, very close, that one.
Yeah, well, both players playing for their first Crucible semi-final. Both players in their first Crucible quarterfinal, even. So massive match really for both of them, and they'll both. You know, I think given the season Chris has had, I don't think he'll be scared of Xintong. I don't think Xintong will be scared of Wakelin because of the season he's had on the amateur circuit. So, I think it'll be a nice attacking game. They'll both probably go for it, and, well, you know, I'll have a new name in the semi-finals, which is always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said a couple of podcasts ago, it seems to be the trend these days that we're getting these new names in the semi-final, at least one of them. And, you know, fingers crossed for either of them to go and put in a good performance in a 4-session one-table setup at the Crucible. And, I mean, something we haven't actually spoke about, but a couple of days ago, the Hearns made their first appearance of the World Championship, didn't they?
Yeah, they brought the dark cloud with them. Just literally, we're all enjoying the World Championship, and they have to go do a poo on it with their hideous guff they seem to do every year, where they decide, we're gonna tease there might be bad news, but there might not. And I was just like, I don't know if this is the best way of negotiating. I don't know if it's good for the sport. Frankly, I don't think it is good for the sport.
No, and you know, ultimately, snooker is not ever going to be an arena sport. It's not something that you can play in front of 10,000 people because you've got to have some sort of view of the table for you to enjoy it. And ultimately, it is always going to be 12 foot by 6 foot. And, you know, Ali Pali is probably about as big as it can get before it ends up being just not very good for the fans or the crowd that are there without paying ridiculous prices to be near the front somewhere. And then you've also got the issue of if it's not in a theatre, you know, you've got temporary seating. And, you know, my experience at the Manchester Central, that the seats are really uncomfortable. And I'm thinking for long sessions at the Crucible or at the World Championship, you're not going to want to sit in a chair that you've got no leg room in and, you know, you scrunch together. I think for the fans themselves, that's also not very fair. And I think you've got to take that into account of the Crucible. You know, it is a theatre at the end of the day, and they have people there the whole year round. And, I think we've said it in the past, you know, snooker should never leave there. But I think there's just so many factors that they're not considering when it comes to it.
I just think they're trying to play hardball with Sheffield, but it's not working clearly. And I think it's just going to make them look stupid because either they will end up staying there and they'll just look like they've been talking crap, frankly, or they will go and they'll inevitably go somewhere which people won't love, which probably would be Hong Kong. That's the biggest audience has ever been for a snooker event was in Hong Kong. I think they had something like 10,000 or something at one of their ranking events. They'll go there, but then I just think the logistics of that, where you know the broadcaster is the British Broadcasting Corporation, Bob Walker is British, and all the pundits are British.
Well, ultimately, it'll just turn into TNT, won't it? The BBC will not take their team out to Hong Kong.
I just don't think all those people want to go there because they, you know. It's much bigger commitment for those people to say you have to go all the way to Hong Kong than it is at the moment where, you know, they are all in Sheffield and they can still have a bit of their normal life around it. And saying we want you to come all the way to Hong Kong, I don't think the snooker mass media are they're not like the football mass media where Gary Lineker is used to going 3 weeks to Brazil to commentate on the World Cup. It's a very different thing for Hazel and JP and Steve Davis and Virgo and all these people. And I don't see all of them just going, oh yeah, all right, we'll do it. Especially the ones who have openly said they're loyal to Crucible, and you're just going to lose those voices of the sport and faces of the sport because you have Ken and people like Ken or Hazel, Rob Walker, who are on TV will say it should stay here. It's like, right, so do you think they'll just move with you, or have you got to then find 50 new employees as well who might not do as good a job? And it's just, I think they're just talking hot air, to be honest, like Barry Hearn often does.
Yeah, but it is the scary thing, I guess, that ultimately they are the ones that will make the decisions. I don't like the idea of knocking down the Crucible and building it again. I think ultimately what is special about the Crucible is where it is and, in its current state and how close the tables are.
They can't just knock it down and replace it within a year. If you remember when they rebuilt Wembley, obviously a massive stadium will take longer because it's 100-seater, but there was 5 or 6 years where FA Cup finals were at like the Millennium Stadium and stuff like that. So it's not like they'll be able to just go, right, okay, 2027, last one at that Crucible, have the new one ready next year. It's not going to happen, and I don't feel like there's any sign of them having a contingency plan, even if that did happen. Like, are you going to go, okay,
ultimately, I think what would happen is it'd probably get moved to either the Barbican or Ali Pali, and then that would be seen as, well, it's worked just as well in another venue, so we don't need to go back to the Crucible. And even after all of this about it needing a new venue, they'd just go somewhere different anyway. And I can see that being a thing. But, I think that there's very few people out there that have the opinion that it should leave the Crucible. So there's not really a lot we're adding to the debate here. But I did think it was important to bring it up, really.
Do you know what's crazy is I saw something from Hearn Jr., and he said about how, because darts players get £1 million for the World Championship and snooker players want to earn more money, they only get £500,000. And in my head, I was just thinking, yeah, but if you look at the numbers, like, it has shot up massively over the past 10 years. It was 300,000 probably 6 odd years ago. It is going up and up and up.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could even go, well, it's not changed in 20 years, like, frankly, a lot of normal people's wages, because it has changed. It has gone up massively. So I don't think you can even really make that point, because there's a reason Judge was the first person to make $1 million and then Ronnie made $1 million, and that's because the prize money has gone up. And, what players earned in the 80s is very different to what they earn now. So I don't even know if I really buy that, because...
Yeah.
If they were playing at the Crucible and it had gone down, or if it was still the same as it was 10 years ago, maybe, but it's not. It's not nowadays. You get 200 grand for being in the final, where that used to be what you got for winning it. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Another thing that Hearn Jr. said was, much like the Masters Golf at Augusta, players dream of winning the Masters at Augusta. They don't want to win it at any other golf course, and that's kind of how it feels for snooker. So he does see it from that perspective of, players growing up watching the World Championships. They're not their dream is to win the World Championship at the Crucible. It isn't to win the World Championship in front of 6 people in China, or and I think that's where it gets tricky. I mean, you look at the Crucible, there are empty seats. As much as you might claim all of the tickets are sold out, there are empty seats. And until you are fully selling it out every single session at premium prices. It's all well and good selling all your standard tickets and then having all of your hospitality ones left. Like, clearly people aren't desperate enough to go to the Crucible to spend £300 on a ticket. So therefore, whereas something like Coldplay, for instance, where you cannot get concert tickets for because everybody is desperate to go, they are willing to pay hundreds upon thousands of pounds to be able to go and see Coldplay. We don't have that situation with snooker. Maybe the final, possibly. But
well, you saying that has just made me think of, how in the FA Cup now they have like a halftime show because they're trying to be like the Super Bowl and it's a bit crap and no one likes it. I was just thinking, would they do that with snooker and they'd have Coldplay singing Snooker Loopy or something?
Well, no, they'd probably just have an exhibition of Dennis and Ken during the mid-session interval to get everybody going. But it's a debate that will rumble on, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in our daily roundups next year and the year after. It's guaranteed at the Crucible until 2027. The BBC have got their backing until 2032. So who knows what will happen with all of that going forward. But I think everybody knows our opinions, what everybody else's opinions seem to be, other than a very select few players and the Hearns, essentially.
No one cares what they think, so,
But there you go, Tom. So shall we do some Fanjing email before we hit cue the laughter?
Lovely idea, mate. Let's open the Fanjing inbox.
Yes, so we've got two Fanjing emails today. So we've got Bernie from America, of course, who has been keeping in touch with us from New York. Was the number one 8-ball player in New York back in the day. So, sorry?
No, it was just going, yeehaw!
Yeehaw! So his subject is Luca Brecel, the superstar of 2025. Wow, his performance is out of this world when he plays snooker. It's as if he's potting away on a 3x6 table. Normally, I don't fancy players who take everything on, for it's the wrong thing to do, but it suits him, I tell you. His game is much more interesting than everyone else's. It's like he's on fire. Delicate, thin back cuts, whilst the white proceeds quietly to split the reds like a flower opening up in May. Anyhow, would you half agree or fully agree? Bernie from America. Now, I don't know if this was a poem or just lots of statements. What's your opinion, Tom?
I mean, that felt like an AI was trying to flirt with me, to be honest. That was very disconcerting. No, I think Luca, as I said yesterday, was exceptional in that session.
Yeah.
And it's kind of perplexing, really, that he can turn that on, and for some reason, he seems to find it once every 2 years at the Crucible at the moment, which is a bit bizarre. Of course, I do think he's. I mean, maybe. I don't know, because he literally said he was going to be in Belgium and flying back tomorrow to. So he's going back and forth to Belgium and then coming back to Sheffield between sessions, which is bizarre, really. And I just wonder whether he's. I guess he's. As I made a comparison yesterday, much like Alex Higgins in both his style of play, being very gun-ho, and also his off-the-table demeanour in a sense, because it kind of has got that sort of punk rock, sort of anti-orthodox, not doing what you're supposed to do, but still somehow managing to get results, which is pretty incredible, really. Yeah, what do you think, Joe? Do you think Luca Brecel is like a flower?
He's... I don't know, I guess he's very seasonal, isn't he? There's sometimes he can have nothing going for him, sometimes he can have all the bees around him, but he does things his own way, does Luca? I mean, I don't know if you heard the story about him flying in on a chartered private jet from Belgium just 23 minutes before he was due to go on against Ding last night. So he's a crazy guy. And you know, there's only one Luca Brecel, isn't there?
And I think that's why I personally have a bit of a love-hate thing with him. Do you know what I mean? Some of it I just go, I can't believe you're flying in so late. That's a bit unprofessional. But there's part of you that just go, oh, but it is quite just a bit out there and different, and that's interesting because it is so unique and it is such a different perspective. And then when you see it works, you can't really argue with it, and you just go like, wow, okay. I mean, I don't get how your brain works, but it clearly does some magical stuff.
Well, he's just naturally gifted at snooker, isn't he? A bit like Ronnie, I suppose, and Jack Lazowski, you know, all these players that can just turn it on sometimes, and whereas there's a lot of more mechanical, robotic players almost that have sort of learned how to play brilliantly. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, he might end up winning the World Championship this year. If he keeps playing the way he is doing, then there's very few players that can stop him. You know, it will be very, very interesting the next few days to see if he can get there. I mean, with his current performance in the World Championship, Tom, he's gone up to number 42, I think it is, in the end of season rankings, just behind Ben Wollaston, who's at number 41. So there you go.
Absolutely mad, isn't it? Crazy. I mean, that's the thing, though. If he gets to the later rounds, he will be right there, kind of, you know, near the. At least he'd be back in the top 32. It's a bizarre story, really. Like, it's even more perplexing considering, you know, he had never won at the Crucible. He wins the world title, goes out in the next year straight away, and then comes back and plays incredible stuff after barely winning the game all season. It's baffling. It makes no real sense, does it? But that's part of the joy of sport, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will see going forward. We do have another email, Tom. So thanks, by the way, Bernie, for that email. We have one from Matt from Middlesbrough, who has got in touch. This time, not from Krakow, not from Auschwitz, nothing like that. He says, "Afternoon, Hazel."
No, hold on. Can we just qualify? He was visiting Auschwitz. He was listening to the podcast, because otherwise, if you've not heard that episode, it sounds like Joe's might make a horrendous offhand comment. Joe doesn't think that everyone from Middlesbrough should go to Auschwitz. I want to just make sure that's very clear.
Well, Tom, you know, you're making sweeping statements here. He says, "Afternoon, Hazel. Currently watching Ronnie struggle his way through his match with Pang. I'm hoping future Tom and Joe are talking about a Ronnie victory. I'm sure we will be tomorrow. We have already talked about Ronnie, so I think that means that Matt has been at the Crucible today, potentially watching that. And I have sent you a little picture to possibly prove that, which we'll talk about in a minute. Anyway, this probably doesn't qualify as a cue the laughter, but I found Zhao Zintong's jacket rather intriguing. And it says, "My dog doesn't bite, but I do." That's what it says on the back of Zhao Zintong's jacket. I wonder if during a match, if Jan Verhaest didn't spot a colour the way he liked, would Zhao give Jan a little nibble? Keep up the great work with the podcast as always, from Matt. So thank you very much, Matt, for that. We appreciate your message there. And, well, I mean, what do you reckon, Tom? Do you think Zhao would give Jan a little nibble?
I think there's plenty of people who would love to give Jan a little nibble, to be honest. But I don't know if Zhao... I mean, to be fair, Zhao has spent a lot of time banned, so it does make sense that he would be the Luis Suarez of snooker. It perfectly does make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But there you go. I don't know if you've noticed in the Ronnie match, Jan has made a couple of interesting decisions. One of them was it was a touch in black. So in those situations when it's touching a colour, you've got to nominate your colour. And he said and it was Pang, I think, and he said, "Oh, you need to nominate your colour." And anyway, Pang got down and didn't nominate any colour, played it off the pink, and Jan called foul, which is something I've not seen happen before, actually. So
That is the rules. It's the rules.
Well, it is the rules, absolutely. It was just quite cool to see that in action. And then today, because obviously Ronnie uses the triangle chalk, which leaves chalk marks on the table, Jan respotted a pink on a chalk mark instead of on the pink spot at one point. So that was a little funny moment. That happened.
Did he get told off, or did someone fix it? Or
I think Pang just sort of looked at him and he sort of sorted it out, and the audience had a little chuckle. But yeah, just a couple of interesting ones about Jan Verhaas there, because I know he was one of our absolute favourites when we talked about our favourite snooker referees, Tom, all that time ago.
what an episode! And I mean, if you have any referee that you'd like to nibble, please do comment below and let us know.
Or you can get in touch with snookerloopypodcast@gmail.com. We do appreciate the Fanjeng email. Please do keep sending it across, because we're enjoying reading it every day and getting back to you. There are a couple of comments as well I thought I'd read through, Tom, while we are here, and it is our good friend Mr. Dog who keeps getting in contact in the comments section. Thank you very much, Mr. Dog. He said,
quickly, do you think that Yang Bingtao has got a jacket that says "My dog does bite" just because it bit Rob Walker in that video?
Yeah, my dog does bite, but I don't. Maybe that's what it is. So yeah, Mr. Dog commented on the Crucible outing video. He said, "Great to hear about your day out, Joe. Hopefully Tom can make it there one day. I know he's got big plans to go next year. I'm sure we will be reporting live from the Crucible at some point. Awesome, you got to see a maximum as well. I know. I still can't believe that almost. That happened. So much has happened this World Championship. Famous people from Trinidad and Tobago off the top of my head: Brian Lara, Dwight York, and Trevor MacDonald. 6 famous can't be that bad for Rishi Prasad. Very interesting to hear your comments regarding Steve Davis, talking about Ryan Day. Steve seems to have a good eye for that sort of stuff. Stephen Hendry mentioned in passing in one of his recent videos that when he last saw Steve, he gave him a simple thing to do that's already seen him hitting the ball better. We did actually talk about that on the podcast as well. If I was Ryan, I'd give DJ Thunder Muscle a call, honestly. I probably got about a quarter of the questions right. Wasn't really keeping track. Aside from that, people you might expect, I reckon, Wakeland might quietly destroy all corners. I think that is definitely a possibility. I think he has been one of the big standouts. He also commented on yesterday's video about the class of 92. So my favourite frame of the championships, 147 aside, of course, is still probably the one where Higgins came back to get 2 snookers on the blue, cleared up, and then potted the respotted black, only to go in off and lose the frame. That was classic Crucible drama, wasn't it? But yeah,
it was beautiful.
Yeah. Absolutely. So thank you for continuously getting in touch, Mr. Dog. We do really appreciate your support. And of course, if you want your comments read out, or if you want your emails read out, then you know where to get in touch. But today, Tom, on the back of Fanjeng email, we have got Cue the Laughter, which is one of our regular segments. So shall we cue the laughter, Tom?
Let's do it!
Let's do it. So, couple of things. I'll give you a choice. I've got 2 options here. You can either go with option 1 or option 2. So option 1 is I show you my merch from the Crucible, and then we do the eBay listings that Archie sent over last time. Or we can do it in reverse. Which way round would you like to do it?
Let's do the eBay things first, I think.
Ooh, right. Let's get into it then. So, Archie very kindly sent over some eBay items for us to look at. So, I've sent Tom the links, as always, and we are going to have a little look at them. So, let me know when you've got up the first one, which I've said is the 1993 Imperial Embassy and Regal Ronnie O'Sullivan Snooker Celebrities card. So, long-time listeners to the podcast will know that Tom found these celebrity cards ages and ages ago, didn't you, on eBay? And I think they were from 1988 or something. I ended up buying them.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But I don't remember Ronnie being one of those cards. So this must be a future set, perhaps.
I don't recognise it. I don't know why it's so expensive either. Why is it?
Well,
why is it £146?
As somebody that's got into trading cards a little bit recently, this looks like what is called a graded card. So it's where you send it off and they get it parceled up, and you see that little red sticker at the top. It sort of gives it a rating out of 10. So it looks like it's a 7, maybe. Or is that maybe number 7 card? I'm not entirely sure how these grading things work, but it must be a pretty rare card for somebody to want to go and do that. I mean, when you look at the description, it does say population of 1 in the PSA register. So I'm assuming that that's the only one that's been graded ever. I don't know.
To be that much money, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty incredible. I'm also interested, Joe. In the similar items, there's a picture of Ronnie holding a bottle of Highland Spring, which we've talked about this before, I think.
Yeah, I can't see that actually. It's not on my similar items, weirdly.
Hold on, I will send it to you because it is in my similar items, and it's worth a look at this. Firstly, because it's got Ronnie, and it's got a signed picture of him holding Highland Swing. That must have been the weirdest thing to sign. Someone going, "Can you sign this picture of you holding this bottle of water, looking awkward?"
Oh, I know, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Oh, there's James Watner there as well.
Well, it's got James Watner, and his waistcoat says he's sponsored by Nest Cafe, and he's got a little mug.
Oh, and look at that, and these goggles. There he is.
And his waistcoat is sponsored by Fast Sandwich.
Yeah, oh, there you go. I mean, 3 all-time legends there.
Oh, amazing.
That is unbelievable.
Was James Watson doing like a Nescafe advert or something?
He could well have been, yeah. That's some strange... I mean, we've done a whole episode on snooker-related advertisements, so perhaps you can try and track that one down, Tom.
Whoa, hold on. I've clicked on the picture of James Watner, and on the back it's got some writing. James Watner, Thailand's snooker typhoon, is single.
Oh!
and was born in January 1970. He became the world amateur champion in 1988 and turned pro the following year. Since then, James has chalked up 2 maximum 147 breaks in competition and climbed to number 7 in the world at the end of his 3rd professional year. Nescafe has been proud to have been his main sponsor since his amateur days.
Wow.
Not just his sponsor, they're trying to set him up apparently, going he's single.
Yeah, just completely bizarre items, aren't they? But there you go. So thank you for the first item there, James. Archie. I'm thinking of James Watner. But yeah, here's the second one that he sent us, and this is a copy of Virtual Snooker, which is a PC game with Ronnie and Steve Davis in the sort of the front cover, the cover art. So it's starring Steve Davis and presented by Ronnie O'Sullivan, apparently. So, I mean, is this a game you've ever heard of, Tom?
No, I don't. I do not think I have. But it's got quotes by both Steve and Ronnie on the back. I'm just trying to work out what year it's from. Is it from 95?
It's 95. Is it 95? No.
Oh no, 99 is one of the things. So
yeah.
I mean, Ronnie can't have even been that old when he was in this game, surely.
No, Enter the world of virtual snooker. Snooker game so real. We are sure it will improve your actual snooker playing. It has all the angles, all the shots of the real game, and more. Take a lesson in snooker techniques and tactics from 6 times world champion Steve Davis. So he's apparently hooked on this game. Ronnie says the game's great. Every angle and perspective is spot on. It's just like the real thing. So that's probably something I'm going to have to play, isn't it?
Yeah, this will be a future game for the retro show, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there you go. Thank you very much for sending that across, Archie. Good finds.
Yeah,
And
I'm very intrigued by the starring Steve Davis and presented by Ronnie O'Sullivan. I have no idea what that possibly is. It Ronnie going, "Hi, welcome to Virtual Snooker. This is the best snooker game in the world."
Yeah,
and Steve Davis comes in and shows you a trick shot.
it might well be. Yeah, you never know. We'll have to find out one day, Tom. We will have to find out, and we are gonna probably over the summer, a little bit similar to what we did last year. We obviously did a big deep dive on Snooker 19, didn't we? And talked about the video games of snooker. I think it would be great if we could sort of do deep dives on all of the former snooker games, official and non-official, and see, what everybody thinks about all these great games. But yeah, thanks for that, Archie. And of course, if you do want to send over your own suggestions for Cue the Music or Cue the Laughter, then please do let us know down below in the comment section, or email us at snookerloopypodcast@gmail.com. So, any final words, Tom?
Well, one more thing I've thought we could do in the future, because we've looked at lots of, obviously, snooker music, we've looked at lots of snooker games, and I thought we could, at some point in the summer, bring back our infrequent feature, which is Lights, Camera, Jackson Page, and watch some sort of snooker-related films. So I know there's one called Break, which was released recently, that's got Crafty Ken's in it. I think Jack Zalski has a cameo, and I think maybe Liang Wenbo, which is a bit awkward.
Yes, we'll have to paste over somebody's face on that bit, won't we?
But me and Joe might watch them and do like a little review of something like that. I think there's also a film I know of that's a pool film that's got Jimmy White in, so from the 80s. If anyone knows any other snooker-based films and wants to suggest,
I think there's one about Steve Davis, isn't there? Is it called The Rack Pack or something like that? Is that
that I really want to see, but it's not on iPlayer, and I have no idea why it's not been released anywhere, because apparently it's excellent. But if anyone knows where to find that, we might have to just find it sneakily. But
yeah, sometimes that I think they do show that on the BBC from time to time, so we'll have to keep an eye on that when it all comes. So yeah, thank you very much for everybody joining us once again for some more Snooker Loopy fun. We will be back tomorrow, nice and early, hopefully, with the early finishes, and we will be previewing the quarterfinals, Tom. We are getting towards the latter stages of this World Championship, and it is really starting to hot up. So make sure you catch us tomorrow for that. Any other final words, Tom?
Just commiserations if you're going to the session tomorrow in the evening, because
yeah,
I hope they give you some of your money back or something.
Yeah, I've never known them to actually do that, but
or Ronnie just knocked in a 147, and that would still be worth your money. So
absolutely. So there you go, there you have it, and we will be back tomorrow for our next daily roundup of the 2025 World Snooker Championship. Sleep well, Hazel.